All right, we're here. We're recording. Appreciate you bearing with me and asking some questions before we started. This is Burn the Ship. Our goal of Burn the Ship is to connect entrepreneurs with professionals that can help you go all in on your business, right? People that have already walked the walk, people that have already talked the talk, have been through the business world, readapted our business, went through these challenges that we've went through over the last 3 or 4 years. Things are different. Things have changed. We're really firing the podcast back up. We got very busy there for a while. We've done somewhere close to 300 episodes.
Nice.
So it's been good. I hope we've solved a lot of problems out there for people that are inquiring about some of the people that we've talked to recently. Feel free to reach out to us. Love to engage with you. I've got my friend here. I've known you for a while. I've known you since basically the beginning of code. We were in a Master Networks group together. And now here we are. I think we have both abandoned that train. Business has changed, as I've said, but I won't steal your thunder. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself and introduce your business, my friend?
So Jim Fuhs. I'm the president of Fusion Marketing, and as I like to say, I do marketing the Marine Corps way. I retired from the Marine Corps about 14 years ago as a lieutenant colonel, and kind of figuring out what did I want to do. I started out. I was in government contract consulting, and then I started working in digital marketing in 2016. And even as like you said, when COVID came up, kind of shifted from doing more of that social media management to live stream production, podcasting, and then getting into the Amazon influencer program in about it's been almost 3 years in 2020. And so continuing to work on understanding how can I help businesses. Well, I talk about live selling on Amazon, but really like to call it live solving. And live solving doesn't apply just to Amazon, it applies to all businesses. And I think once you start to get into that mindset of understanding that, we're all problem solvers, right? That's where I think sometimes people think about sales. Oh, I got to make sales. But the reality is that I'm going to work with you because you're solving my problems,
Mm-hmm.
right? And if you can give me a solution, then that's more likely for me to move forward with you, because we got to build that know, like, and trust, right? Which is what a lot of these networking groups are about. But like we talked about a little bit earlier before we came on here, our bandwidth only allows us to do so much networking.
Mm-hmm.
And I did a ton of networking before COVID, but then it's like when I was stuck in my basement because we weren't allowed out, I was like, well, I can't just sit here and not grow my business.
Right.
And that's where the internet became a really powerful thing.
Sure. And so lean that mic back a little bit, I think. For some reason I hear, lean it the other way.
This way?
Yeah.
Okay.
Did you start out the way that a lot of kind of digital marketing companies conduct themselves now? I'm assuming that you were kind of consulting with small, medium-sized businesses about their marketing efforts. People in the business world often have questions about why their marketing dollars are not working for them, and I would imagine that you were helping them answer that question and kind of steer them in the right path. You said somewhere around 2020, you took a different approach. Do you still consult with businesses?
I do. I definitely do, and I also do some teaching for a couple of community colleges in North Carolina, where I do classes on the different social media platforms, because they're constantly changing. I mean, just I had mentioned to you earlier today about how LinkedIn is really growing, and a lot of people aren't taking advantage of what that can do for them, especially if they're in the B2B space.
Sure. Well, when you were consulting those 7 years ago, what was marketing the Marine Corps way then?
Well, it was more about what is your, I'm a very direct person, because it's like, all right, what's your problem? Let's come up with the solution, right? In the Marine Corps, we kind of have this thing called a 5-paragraph order format. It's called SMEAC. What's the situation, right? The situation is you're not getting eyes on your stuff. What's the mission? We want to get people to build that know, like, and trust. How are we going to execute it? Okay, well, where are your people, right? Are they on Facebook? Are they on Instagram? I guess now you'd say, are they on TikTok? The admin and logistics, how are we going to do it, right? Are we going to create content? Are we going to, create it for you, or you're going to give us the content and we're going to turn it into a workable solution? What are the things you have coming up, and who's talking to who? And then the command and signal is, how we follow up and continue that cycle. And so that's really that approach I take with any problem, is how do we get to the bottom line, and get rid of all the noise, so to speak.
Sure. Explain to me Amazon live selling like I'm 3 years old.
Right.
Live, even take it a step further and explain your live solving philosophy on it as well.
Yeah. So Amazon came up with this, it probably started in about 2018 or so, what they called the Amazon Influencer Program. And what they were doing is they were at first bringing on like big names, like Kevin Hart and these people they would actually put a live, stream on Amazon.com, and you'd see them talking about like these microphones we're using or these headphones, and thinking like, oh, people are going to buy from Kevin Hart, and that they really weren't seeing that. So fast forward, they said, well, we need to get more, I guess you could say regular people. So they started offering for people to have the ability to apply for the program based on their social following. When I started, it was Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, or Facebook business. And if you had enough followers, they'd approve you, and then you literally are allowed to talk about products live through their app, and people are watching you live. They can chat with you, and they can pick that product. And if they, buy that and anything else they buy during that next 24 hours, Amazon gives you credit of 1% to 4%, depending on the product, that you get paid after, that initial 60 days. And then they expanded the program further to allow what they call product videos. So you can record these videos like you see YouTubers do, where you're talking about, features and benefits of a product.
Unboxings,
and then they upload it to the product pages. And so people are now shopping, they see a video. It's like the video might, like, should I buy this, or does this work here or there? And so part of that live solving, or even as we call it, even if it's post, right, it's recorded, is answering questions for the person to solve their problem. And so my friend Chris and I really aren't, we don't like to think of ourselves as salespeople, but the reality is we all are when you think about it, right? Mm-hmm. We work with each other because of, somebody refers you, you build that know, like, and trust. And so really what live solving is about is the idea that, when you go to a search engine, right, whether, I guess now people are starting to go to AI, the reality is you're looking for a solution to your problem, no matter what it is. And business owners have to remember that they're problem solvers, right? That's what people are coming to you for. They're not coming to you because, you're having a sale or something else. They're looking for a product or service that's going to solve whatever problem they have, right? And you think about everything we do, whether it's buying groceries, whether it's our car, whether it's, business services like what the MP Group provides, right? I don't know that solution exists. And so where do I go looking for it? I go out looking out in the, now in world. The interwebs, right? Because nobody uses the yellow pages anymore.
Right, yeah.
And so even things like cold calling, how many people actually answer their phone anymore, right? I tend to, I'll be straight up. I tend to ignore phone calls that come into me that I don't have that number in my contacts.
Oh, yeah.
If they're going to leave me a message, great. And if it's selling me something I don't want, I'm not going to call them back.
Yeah.
And so as a business owner, even, right, you need to control your time. So just because your phone rings doesn't mean you should necessarily answer it. Unless it's like, in your guys' case with a business line here, you would think it's somebody that's interested in your product or service.
Usually it's fraudulent for us. Usually it's somebody trying to get a fraudulent merchant account to run a bunch of stolen credit cards or something. Like, we just tell them no.
Wow. That's crazy.
You can tell, because like when people are prepared to give you the information in the exact order that it asks for it in a merchant application, like they've got it written down on a sheet of paper, you can tell every single time. Like people get very invested in their business. Mm-hmm. Like people are emotional about their business. Right. You know what I mean? It's not like, hey, I need some credit card processor. I'll use anybody that'll take me, you know, and like I know that my tax ID right off the top of my head, but I can't really describe to you what it is that I sell, like it's a weird world out there in the credit card processing world, because opening a merchant account for somebody, you have kind of, giving somebody some power, so it's very unique. What I think is most unique about your situation as well is that we speak the same language when it comes to B2B marketing, right? Because that that very problem solving oriented method is really the language that business owners speak, but you deliver them products and services in a very B2C way. And I think that's very, very unique as well. And you leverage your influence. I don't think, I guess it's becoming more popular now, especially in the startup community. Like, because I know a lot of startup owners that are pushing really hard to have a following on LinkedIn and all of those things, but that wasn't very typical, you know what I mean, until, you know, it's, I feel like it's been more popular recently. So
Right.
it's kind of a different thing. How how do you combine those two things? Like how do you still think about it B2B? Like what problem am I solving for a certain demographic of people? But how did you kind of teach yourself to convert people in that live solving way that you guys are putting out content? And tell me, just like, I know you used the phrase the power of video a lot. Like, what does that mean to you? Can you elaborate on exactly what that phrase means to you a little bit?
Yeah, so to me, the power of video really comes down to this. When we think of the senses, right? Touch, taste, feel. Video gives us everything right now, but probably but touch and like smell, and
Hmm.
who knows, that may change.
Yeah, yeah.
And so you have a deeper connection. Like when it's just written word, sometimes the context gets missed. And when you're using video as an example, whether it's, as an example, we'll shoot B-roll if it's an item that's kind of hard to show, like at your desk, and bring that in and then talk about it while you're, kind of seeing the demonstration of the product at use. And so that kind of like help answer people's questions.
Hmm.
One of the things that Amazon found, and they've been encouraging their sellers to do more videos of their products, is that the returns are 3 times less likely if there are videos on the product page versus without, because you don't always see, like, does it
Yeah, you
come
kind of
with
get to see it in
batteries,
action.
and and see it in action, how big is it, things of that. So
Yeah, I just bought that yeah, I just bought monitor mounts, right?
mhm,
New monitor mounts for my monitors, my desk at home. And I watched the video, and that's the only reason that I bought it.
right,
Like it popped up on my homepage as something that you might like, and they had a really, really good video there that like showed you what it was like relative to the exact size monitor that I
mhm,
have. And I was like, okay, yeah, this one got me, you know,
right,
and I bought it.
right.
And I don't know why I think that way. You know, I don't even need that. You know what I mean? Like I don't know why
Well, I think it kind of gives you it's like that final convincer that you've made the right decision.
it's yeah, and it, for some reason mentally, when you're like, "Oh, this thing fits me." You're like, "Oh, that's really what the video does."
Right,
It's like, "Oh, this is for me."
right,
I don't care if it's for everybody else, you
right,
know, and I read the reviews, it says quality product, but I know that this fits my problem very, very specifically. You know, like
right.
I can envision the upgrade that this is going to make to my life, right? How do you get that level of thinking, and how do you kind of pick your products where you know that you're talking to the right people? You know what I
Well,
mean?
part of it is, we kind of get that answer for us by when you look at, as an example, on Amazon, and you probably could find it with other products, is people will ask questions about the product.
Sure.
And so we look at like, what's the most popular question? Is there a video about it? And then we create a video that answers that question, or a
Sure.
series of videos. And so I think that's where, and part of it is like, think like a consumer, right? Think like, what is it that people are looking for? And then the other thing too, it's because you're talking about building trust. We don't do videos for everything, right? We have our own standards, and I'm not going to like do a video about a microphone that I would never use.
Right.
We get offered it literally daily. We get emails from companies all over the world. It's like,
Yeah.
hey, would you guys do a video about our product? And it's like, either no, we take a look at it. We actually use
Crappy low
sellers
ticket
tools.
item.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we use Amazon sellers tools. We use a program called Helium 10 that tells us what the 30-day sales are on that item. So we'll look for products too that we know are, say, for an example, selling $1 million a month,
Mm-hmm.
and we may just go buy the product ourselves. I don't need that company to give it to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I think too, part of building that, if you want to call it influence, is if you're creating good product videos, you're putting it out there, those companies will start to notice you as well.
Sure.
And so that's another piece of it. But yeah, that's where the video thing, even as an example, before and afters, right? Like if you're, a friend of mine, they're in like the handyman business, like show what it looked like before, right? Do a short video, show the final result, maybe get the person telling how happy they are with the service that you provided. And now you've got a video about whatever it is, like building deck steps, right?
Mm-hmm.
So now when I'm searching for, how do I build deck steps? Well, maybe your video shows that. But then what happens a lot of times is we don't actually want to do the work ourselves,
Mm-hmm.
but you've just proven to me that you have that capability. And if you're in my backyard, well, I might actually call you for business. And you can put those videos or snippets of those videos in so many places to include LinkedIn and bring people back to watch the full video if that's what they want.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that's where, part of it is, right, people have short attention spans now.
Sure.
And so
I'm one of them.
that video catch my attention, right? And maybe long enough to make that effect, but am I going to sit there and read through a bunch of words? Probably not. I think that's a big
I regress, and actually I am that guy. I will comb through everything. I will comb and comb and comb until I find what fits me. At the beginning of this journey, when you're going into the live solving aspect, what were some of the first products that you sold? I'm assuming it's product that you already use.
Yeah. A lot of it was exactly. That's how we started. So having a live stream show that I've been doing for almost 5 years, and also being a podcaster, that was really the idea behind Dealcasters.
The audio, video,
don't fear the gear, helping people get started with that, and it's kind of grown. We've actually started a new YouTube channel where we're even talking about items we use around our house, right? Because we're people just like everyone else, and so hey, I'll talk about the coffee maker I like. I'll talk about stuff I use to clean my yard up and things of that. So we've created a channel for that on YouTube that we take those videos and we put it there too, because the goal. What Amazon wants you to do is they want you to drive traffic back to Amazon. So they're fine with you taking that content.
Well, they know their average cart order is going up every time that happens, I'm assuming.
Right.
That happened to me when I ordered those monitor mounts. I found 3 or 4 other things that were already in my cart over time that weren't quite big enough for me to make the purchase yet, and then I bought them all at the same time. So I get that as well. At the beginning of this part of your business, what were you doing really well, and what was like difficult for you?
I think what I was doing well was just understanding how to live stream, because I had been doing it since.
So you had the technical part down pat.
The technical part, it was more getting comfortable with describing items, kind of, doing that whole description. And even my business partner and I have seen how we've gotten better at, whether it's different camera angles. I now have, 2 cameras on my, desktop. I have an overhead so I can, do picture in picture, and you can be watching me demonstrate something while I'm talking about it. Is, those little things, but also just, and being a part of Toastmasters and having to go to Zoom with that is
nice.
Understanding
Toastmasters is awesome for all of you out there that are scared, which is not a shot at you. Everyone is scared of public speaking. Or simply have not a lot of experience. Nobody's ever taught you how to do it. Toastmasters is awesome.
Yep.
Toastmasters will make you be able to speak. I mean, they're really good at what they do. They've got their process really, really down.
Yeah, and so, but part of it too is just virtual presentation, right? That's where a lot of us struggle, and I think as much as people want to think that we're going to go back to the way things were before,
That's never going to happen.
And so you've got to have kind of both those skills, right? Like you say, the in-person skills, the virtual skills. So that's where we also help people by showing them, like, hey, there's all this different software, like we talked about. There's Ecamm, there's StreamYard. I mean, you're using OBS,
right,
that allow you to create that virtual dynamic that catches people's attention. And so, but for me, that was just learning it myself, right? It wasn't like I went to school for it. Didn't exist when I was growing up.
YouTube's an incredible resource for things like that. I've found out. It'll teach you a little bit too much sometimes too. Make it a little too complicated.
Yeah, or you get into, I guess you could say, paralysis analysis, and sometimes you just gotta do it.
Yeah, you're just stuck. Yeah, that's definitely a real thing. And so, taken from the point of where you were kind of making these product reviews for everyday items that you use within your business and within your household, how much of the traction that you're getting is based off of influence that you had already developed on your other social media channels, and how much does Amazon feed you?
It does quite well. I mean,
I would imagine it does.
Yeah, we make
because you're
money
only a
every
hop
day.
skipping away
Yeah.
from the next video. You know what I mean? So
Right. Yeah, we literally make money every day, even when we sleep now. So it's become a nice passive income.
you guys stream every day?
No, no,
Really?
that's the whole thing. Once you make those product videos and get approved, I mean, we've probably got over 500 videos on Amazon.
That's gracious.
And
You edit those yourself?
Yep.
Yeah. Well, I'm 300 in, and it's whooping my ass. So.
Right. Well, that's why sometimes you got to hire people to do that stuff.
I'm on the way. Yeah, I'm excited to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited to do that. Well, that's cool. 500 videos, 500 different products, I'm assuming.
Yep. Sometimes it's 2 or 3 of the same product,
depending on how hot
things.
those FAQs are, I'm assuming.
Right.
Yeah, you got 3 or 4 of the same really good questions. It's dominating one product. It's
like we've done comparison videos of I did one with the Rode Wireless Go 2. It's like, here's what your microphone sounds like on the iPhone without this microphone. Here's what it sounds like with. And so you kind of edit it so they can hear kind of both different ways. Like, wow, I need to buy that microphone because it sounds a lot better.
Yeah. I wish that this was a resource I would have leaned on more when I was buying microphones, because I have an onslaught of microphones all across this office before I found the ones. I like these a lot.
Right.
So tell me a little bit about, if you want to talk about the other side of your business as well, right? Let's say I'm the guy, I'm the B2B guy. I want to get into exactly what you're doing, right? I want to get into the streaming world. I want to get into the speaking to the customers or, influence that I've already developed. I have no knowledge of anything technical, right? As far as video goes. Can you talk a little bit about your other side of your business?
We make it really simple. So as a remote live stream producer, it's like, we have the software. We give you the link to show up. We kind of walk you through the process of, okay, we got to make sure you got good audio, good video, and, also like we've got these headphones on because you don't want to have echo feedback. Your lighting help you come up with a run of show. And then you just, it's kind of like you just show up and we're going to make you look good, right? We create the graphics. We help you with the repurposing. We've had, as an example, if you wanted to do a series of shows, that's something that can be done, because I think that's sometimes what keeps people from doing it. Kind of like you're talking about, you've had 300 podcast episodes, but you've had to do it all yourself.
Yeah. And I've had to, and if I had to redo everything that is in this studio right now, right, the exact same way as you see it right now, I could do it in half the time for half the price. And the products are more expensive. That $550 camera is $650 now. You know what I mean? Like, and it's because I didn't know. And we were that. We are that. We are the try and fail. We are the buy something and see if it fits our needs. That is us. We fly by the seat of our pants a lot, and that is okay as well. But I had to learn it with no resources. Well, not no resources. I'm sure there were resources out there. I just didn't take advantage of them. But I basically learned the name of this game just by trial and error. You know what I mean? Like the amount of holes that those sound pads are covering up in the walls are insane. So, like you can see that big hunk right there is where we started with the cords, and then we've had to go to a bigger mixer and add more microphones and things. So we've had to cut another one. So like the resource of that is great, honestly. And I'm imagining that those are probably not clients for life. They figure out over a year or two their own process and progress and some of the technology as well. But it is an immense resources, and I would have saved so much money by asking somebody how to do the things that I had no idea how to do. You know what I mean? So I see the value there as well. What kind of businesses do you see that are tapping into that market now?
Well, I think more marketing businesses are starting to, just because it's kind of like advertising what they do. But I also think that there's more, even local businesses and one of the things I tell people to do, and there's a product called, I don't know if you've ever used Podmatch or not, but, be a guest on shows, right? That's part of the reason why I'm here, because I get to talk to you about my business. And so the one disadvantage sometimes about having your own business or your own show is you're like right now, right? You're interviewing me, so we're not necessarily learning about you.
Mm-hmm.
So what I encourage people is like, look, start getting guesting, right? Set up a profile on Podmatch, and people will start to talk to you because even if your market may be more than just your backyard, how are you getting out there? How are you
Sure.
letting people learn about you?
Sure. Yeah, I've noticed that with Podmatch as well. And we don't our industry's super boring for the most part. Like there's not a I don't know of anybody that's successfully actually I do know one gentleman, but it's because he talks to ISOs, and his name's James Shepard, and he's kind of the credit card processing sales pro, CC Sales Pro, I think is his company, but he talks a lot about basically tools for people like me that sell credit card processing to go out there and sell for more merchants. And my industry's massive. Like it goes super low on the radar, but my industry is just insanely huge. And there's just a tremendous amount of people that get caught in that sales rep web of like, how do I close more merchant deals? But really, our industry is not that important. And really, the reason that we do the podcast as well is because, well, there's a couple of reasons, really about three reasons. One is that we don't do a lot of things to give back specifically to the community that helps us pay our bills and live our life, right? Like, we participate in charity, we donate money, but the most effective thing we do in the business world is send referrals. Like we put a lot of money back in businesses' pockets just by sending referrals and leads over, but that's really all we do. So the podcast was a way for us to invest time and energy back into all of the people that are listening behind the camera that want to learn XYZ about business. The second reason was we started this during COVID. We were listening to 11 hours a day of virtual networking. I can network virtually here for 8 hours and then go network in California for 3 hours after everybody else has gotten off work here and drink whiskey and enjoy myself. And I could meet 300 people in a day or more or less, depending on where I'm going. And I can remember 5 of them's name at the end of the day, right? 60 seconds at a time was not the way that we wanted to meet people. And we were talking about credit card processing, and we would go to those 11 rooms, and one person would say, oh, I want you to sign me up, or, oh, I maybe have a referral for you, or let's have a one-to-one. We can probably send each other business, right? Like 10 meetings a day. I promise you, if you do 10 meetings a day in your business, you're not going to be unsuccessful for lack of effort. But we knew that there was more. We knew that there was a way to go to do half the work and quadruple the output. And the podcast was the Band-Aid for that. We stopped talking about credit card processing as much and talked about it 5% and talked about the podcast and invited people to come be on the podcast. And now I get to learn about your business for 30 minutes. Now I get to really see, is there a referral that I have for you that's valuable to you? Do I have a referral partner in my network that is good for you?
Right.
Do I, and you get to see us, even if you do it virtually, we talk about what we're doing and we talk about how our day's going and the problems that we solve for merchants and things like that. So it was a way for us to actually begin to build a relationship with the people that we were doing all of the brute work for. We were doing all the hard work. We were spending all the time and energy and having blue light headaches because of the computer screen. And we weren't retaining almost any of those relationships just because everyone in the world was networking for sheer volume, right?
Right.
And then the last thing is that in your business, you always have to create a conversion opportunity, right? Or else you're never going to grow. And the podcast is a conversion opportunity for us, right? It's a way to disclose what our brand does and the value of our brand and our community way on the opposite spectrum of our product, right? Is it's hard to come in here and not say, oh, these guys know a lot of people. It's hard to come in here and say, oh, they have, a huge network of people, hyper locally, especially that are really, really smart business people, because we have to be for our business to be successful, right? And a lot of those people inquire about the services that we provide. We don't even have to sell hard, right?
Right.
That's another thing. If you're behind the camera right now and you fear, asking for the close, it's a normal thing when you're early on in your industry, you're early into sales. It's not that rare, but you should find a way to give away something that is free, right? And this isn't free. You know, this wasn't free at the beginning. It still costs me some of my time after we leave here to edit this video and grab a good thumbnail and all of those things. But I'm giving away something that costs me time and not money. And it's creating conversion opportunities for me and real relationships that in my business are super, super valuable that I would never have gotten otherwise.
Well, and I think too, even to your point, you know, the fact that you take the time to get to know these other businesses and they look at you more as a resource, but it's like your competitors aren't necessarily doing this. So then when I do start to think about your service, you become top of mind because you took the time to develop a relationship.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think, you know, and I couldn't agree with you more, you know, how many of these, you know, networking meetings I've gone to, and it's like, I can't remember those people, or they never connected with me, and, you know, or you're in the wrong room, right? You're in the wrong room.
Of no fault of your own.
Yeah.
You didn't know.
Yep.
You know, it's hard to know. How do you know until you step into the room?
That's
you know
right.
what I mean? So, yeah, I'm on the same wavelength as you, my friend. It is difficult to navigate business out there in the world today. I think you've done an excellent job of navigating it in a way that I've never even seen before. Just because I don't know, I'm sure that's the standard. You know, a lot of people don't know about the avenue in which you're growing your business, and I think that's really, really unique. So,
yeah,
kudos to you, my friend.
Thank you.
I appreciate the perspective of the idea that you want to teach more people about it. That is also something I will give you kudos on, and I appreciate you. Tell us how to get a hold of you in case we want you to remotely manage our live streams, or, you know, maybe we want to get on your podcast. Maybe we have questions about the Amazon selling.
Sure. Yeah. So you can reach me by my email, jfuhs at fuhsmarketing.com, or you can find out what we're doing on Amazon at Dealcasters.shop, and that's got all our socials connected there, so you can connect with us there as well. And and I've also got a show, the Tim and Jim Show. In fact, we probably should have you on there, because I think one of the things that you're talking about, which I you know, this is what I love about what you're doing, is why not as a business have a podcast or a live show where you're talking to other business owners and kind of highlighting them, because you build that relationship, and I think it leads to more business for everybody.
100%. Somebody asked me one day about the podcast, and it was a time where we weren't putting out as many episodes because there are specific times of the year where things get super, super busy for us. There's a couple of times in the year where people are ready to make changes, right? And there's certain times of the year where people are going to want to wait till New Year's, or wait till my kids, you know, start back to school, you know, things like that. And someone asked me, they're like, why do you do the podcast? I'm like, well, we network with, you know, with business owners, right? We ask people just like us questions, and we create a really, really good community while giving some resources to the community that we need to be, you know, to make money. And they're like, well, why hadn't you been doing it as much? I'm like, well, it takes time, you know, it takes energy. I've had deals have closed. We've been traveling, you know, vacation, people XYZ. And a friend of mine, just no agenda, you know, just purely a question. He was like, well, would you do it more if your network was different? And I was like, what do you mean? He was like, well, let's say you owned a football team, right? Like, of all the world, all 32 maybe of the NFL franchises are like on the top 100 most valuable sports organizations, right, in the whole world.
Right.
And every single one of those organizations are making money hand over fist, right? And he said, well, what if you own a football team and you could interview all the other owners of the football team, and you could do, you know, one every day, 5 a week. You could just keep cycling, keep talking to them about different things. It was like, that network of billionaires is super valuable. You know what I mean? So if you knew what your network was, you would want to tap into it. That's what I think a lot of businesses don't understand, is that, or salespeople especially, you have $100,000 a year in residual income in your you know, first, second degree network right now. And you might not be able to access all of it for whatever reason. You know, you might not be the solution for everybody, as you said earlier, which is absolutely okay.
Right.
But if you're not doing anything to tap into the existing network, you are you're walking right past low-hanging fruit to go climb a 30-foot tall tree to get the same thing, right? That's really what it feels like. So I urge everybody in the exact same direction. At least have something where you create some dialogue with the people that you want to talk to. It doesn't cost that much in time or money or energy to come up with a good idea for what you want to do to put content out there in the world for the people that are literally just like you, you know?
Right. Right. Oh, and you know, and I can tell you, there's no doubt in my mind, like, by being a guest on shows and getting people to understand what I do, how that's led to more opportunities. You know, being on a podcast, you know, you'll get like a LinkedIn connection because, hey, I listened to you on this podcast. We'd love for you to come talk to our group about what you're doing. You know, it's kind of that same thing. You know, I think even with what you're doing, right? There's no reason to say, like, you know, it's like I can even think of the title right now, like why your business needs to start a podcast.
Yeah. Oh yeah. 100%. That Mr. Beast taught me that they would like give him keywords and he would give you like 20 viral video ideas from like you would say like cats and he'd be like, oh, we give away 1,000 cats or we saved 1,000 homeless cats or like, you know, that keyword idea is so smart. But yeah, I completely agree. Your business needs to have something, and that's part of marketing. You know, the awareness is always the first stage. We actually have a podcast that we just did recently about the stages, the customer value journey. You know, so awareness is the first stage, and a podcast is a great way to accomplish that. It is an incredible way to accomplish that and learn from the people in your community and give back to your community. It's not an original idea by us, I'll tell you that. But it's something that we adapted to kind of fit our lifestyle and fit the core values of our business, and it's done well for us. So I'm in the same direction as you, my friend.
Yep. Awesome.
Cool. Tell me that the last thing we always end with here is there's always that light switch moment, right? I call it the light switch where you're like flipping on the light of like, oh, I'm going all in on my business, right? Like I see it. You know, I can see where this is going. I can see where it's taking me, and I want to do it. Tell me what that's like, and tell me why more people should chase after that same feeling, especially people right now in the audience are more than likely prospective business owners that are interested in making their own schedule and not getting yelled at by their boss anymore. And they're having a hard time, you know, figuring out how to get moving forward in that right direction. But just tell them what it feels like and why they should try for that same thing.
I mean, you know, having a career where somebody was always telling me what to do, you know, for many years.
How long were you in the Marines?
I was, you know, about 25 years.
Oh man.
You realize, like, you know, I want to have control of my life. I want to be able to call the shots. I want to be able to spend time with my kids, you know, my spouse, you know, I want to, you know, and so for me, that's what it really was about. Is like, hey, you know, it's going to be a risk, but if I do this right, I control the one thing that is probably more important than anything else, and that's your time. And I think where you have to decide is like, do you want someone else always telling you what to do? And then what happens if that business goes under? Now you're looking for another job.
Yeah.
And we're seeing a lot of that, right? We've seen a lot of layoffs. And so what are you doing skill-wise to give yourself that opportunity to be kind of that person that can help other people, and they're coming to you, as opposed to, you know, oh my gosh, you know, I got to find a job. I got to put together a resume. You know, I haven't had to do that in years, and I don't miss it.
No, I hear that. You, yeah, I had a friend of mine on here that said you can make all the money in the world, you can have all the power and control over people that you want, but the ability to give somebody an opportunity to do something amazing is really the most fulfilling thing about business in general. And I couldn't agree more. There's a certain value in being a problem solver. You know, to go back to the core values of your business, there is a certain value out there in the world for being a problem solver, and it is hard to quantify. So thank you for coming, my friend.
Yeah,
I've enjoyed it. You've opened my eyes to an industry that I really did not understand how it worked, but it's amazing.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go look through some of that stuff as well. I'm sure there are some dollars that we could spend for this room in here and there. So thank you for coming. If you have anything else, the floor is yours, my friend.
No, thank you. This has been fun. You know, I'm used to doing podcasts remotely, so it's kind of nice to actually be in the same room as the host.
People ask if we can do them remotely, and I'm like, yeah, we've got a big TV. We can. I don't want to at all, you know, because it's a different interaction. You know, people are still used to doing them remotely, and honestly, I don't trust people to have good audio and video.
Right.
You know, maybe I can point it. Maybe I can throw that into the process at the beginning. I'm like, hey, you look at this. What did you say the name of the shop was?
Oh yeah, Dealcasters.shop.
Yeah, Dealcasters.shop. I'm going to start sending people that link and say, if your
Yeah,
audio and video
we've got
sucks,
some idea lists.
yeah,
for that.
you let me know beforehand so I can send you this list and you can go do things that are great.
Right.
All right?
Yeah.
We'll coach you in the right direction. Here, step one's plug them both up, and we'll get on the podcast.
There you go.
So I appreciate it. We'll have you back definitely
Yeah.
at some point as well. I'll edit this up. I'll get you everything that you need, and hopefully you can make some value out of it as well.
Sounds good.
Cool.
Awesome.
All right. Until next time, my friend. See you. Burn the ship.